Hello, I'm Eagle Gardens 1 on Instagram, and this is fucking talking shit with Eagle, episode 325. I hope you had an amazing Tuesday. I did, even more so. We have an amazing guest with us tonight, Jenny Beth Dills. Hello, how you doing tonight? You want to tell us how you're doing, and of course, where we can find you, please.
Hey, you guys. Yeah, I'm doing well. Thanks for having me. I am grateful and blessed today. You can find me on Instagram at Jennybwsp. You can find my company, Dr. Murphy's Extracts, Kind Canna, and Her Story, the show on Hayes Radio Network.
Nice. How you doing today? And what do you have in your pipe there? I guess should be my first question.
In my pipe, I have, let me see, where's the jar? Oh, the jar's not right here. Dang it. Oh, yes, it is. So I actually have some Mac 1, and this is not usually a strain that I am particularly excited about. It's just not what gets me going. But my friend in the Bay, Tree Crew, did an amazing job with this. I don't know if you guys can see it, but it is that nice buttery terp profile. It's I'm enjoying it. I'm not mad at it at all.
It's nice. It's always good smoke there. Always good cannabis. Always good cannabis.
Yeah.
So extracts. How 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 did you get into the extracts field? Or yeah.
So I got into the extracts field because honestly, I'm a medical patient as well. And so I've always been a smoker. I started smoking obviously recreationally because I just really loved weed, like we all did growing up. But then I realized, even then it was kind of like a mental health escape for me. But I was diagnosed with PTSD in like 2014. And I was introduced to probably dabbing heavily on a regular basis in about 2012, but I was still just a flower girl, right? Like I love the flower. I love growing the flower. I love, like they're my girls. Like that's my team. When I come home, I'm stoked to see them. But it just wasn't giving me that quick, that whatever my brain needed to turn off and be like, hey, chill out, that I needed now with that PTSD diagnosis. So getting into dabbling a lot more heavily, I was cultivating that time with my boyfriend then, who was also Irie Genetics, and a lot of amazing cultivation for seed stock. So with that seed stock cultivation, there was a whole lot of trim and a lot of destroyed flower because it's just not so pretty after I dig through it and pull the seeds out you like to grow so much, right? So blasting that trim became kind of what we did. And we had these just like slabs and slabs and slabs. And it was incredible. And I got really into, because I've always been medically inclined and solution inclined as a person, right? And I got so fascinated with some of the cannabinoid research behind some of the hydrocarbon technology and the way that we can isolate things and reformulate and create a truly replicable nutraceutical based cannabis therapeutic product, right? So that's how I fell into hydrocarbon. Got, into doing collabs for some of the facilities I was running, doing some nice extractions, and then learned to wash actually in March of last year on a mountain in Mendo, and just fell in love with the process. I don't love the noise of the hydrocarbon, and washing is just so artistic. I just kind of, it's what makes me happy, and I enjoy it, and I appreciate flower so much. But I also, like, if I had to, marry or kill one or the other, there's not an option between the two. I need both of them.
I got way ahead of myself on that question, but I couldn't help but ask. One thing that I have to ask you before I go back is, I heard you mention, running seed trim, basically. Do I've talked to a lot of breeders, a lot of people about running seed stock, or seeded bud, seeded trim. We actually think it has a different high to it, that the plant goes through a different chemical change, and it seems to be a more full body, heavier punch than the same strain that you would run and process side by side. So basically, one that's seeded and one's not seeded. The one that's seeded, that material seems to be way stronger, a whole different hash than the ones that are not seeded. Is that something you found in your experience as well?
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, just in the same way that like an indoor cultivated product is not even, it's comparing apples to oranges when you're talking about a full sun product that's grown up on the hill, right? It's such a different product when you let the plant do what it's intrinsically, trying to do, and you let it finish and you let it go through all those genetic expressions that take place when you're producing a seed crop, and when you're truly going through all the phases the plant is intending in its life cycle, you just get a different product. And I honestly love seeded wheat.
You know, I don't think it's that bad either. I just actually had went through a whole plant that I actually had a light leak and it kind of burned on me. But smoking that cannabis wasn't bad. It wasn't bad at all, and
Yeah.
I don't mind it either. To be honest with you, I think it's a more full bodied high. To be honest with
I think we get involved too much sometimes, right? And sometimes you get the most natural expression of a plant when you let it go through its most natural phases, and part of that's its reproduction phase. So I think that it's interesting and it's really cool. I'm glad that I got that experience because, like we're like, seeds and stems, blah, 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 blah. And for sure, like if you went and spent $90 on an ate the top shelf in a dispensary near you, you know what I mean? And you get in there and there's seeds and stems, you're pissed, right? But if you're running for seed stock, we're growing these beautiful buds. We're growing these beautiful plants that are still, capable of being our photo representation of what the genetics look like and things like that. It just sucks to smell it, to grow it, to work with it, and then to pull the seeds out and just throw it away. It's such good smokable material still, and being able to blast it, and having good extractors who were just excited to run it because they wanted to try the new stuff as well. That was something that I'm very fortunate to have been able to be a party to.
I've been on very much on the record of saying there as well is that we talk about the difference between old smoke and currently what we're smoking. We're like, oh, there's something missing. There's something missing that from today to back then. The high isn't, even though it was a lower THC, it still got us way high. I think the difference is it was all fucking seeded weed back then. I think, to be honest with you, I think that's the missing link. To be honest with you, now we're smoking pretty much Amelia, and I think that's the difference from now to back then.
No, you're totally right. And there's probably a lot to that. Like in the same sense that we were talking about the other day, right? We were discussing what the true terpene profile of a plant is, right? Is it the terpene profile you get from that stem rub when it's growing and when it's a live product? Or is it that terpene profile after the cure? And it's like both. It has to be both, right? A plant goes through so many stages in its life, and depending on what we're looking for, and that's why it is so amazing, right? We know that the cannabinoid content changes. We know that even with degradation, the cannabinoid content changes and changes. Unlike most other plants, the degradation also creates a very, very therapeutic cannabinoid, which is CBN. So it's really interesting and to see the plant and to optimize it through all stages of its life cycle and using all parts of the plant, the root, the juicing of the leaves, things like that. Like it's really cool that cannabis is that way because not many things are.
So with that being said, it sounds like a lot of material that you run or could run has been seeded. So if somebody's bringing you material, do you like to see it earlier on, or do you like to see it a little bit more in the amber stages?
Do I what? Hold on, I'm sorry. I was reading the comments. I'm ADD child over here too. Y'all forgive me. Don't get mad at me, Eagle. Sorry.
No worries. I was saying that if somebody were to bring you material, how would you like to see it? Do you like to see it more at a clear state, clear to cloudy, or cloudy to amber for a peak flavor?
As far as somebody who's bringing me extracted material, I
Yeah.
want to see something. If I'm, well, it depends on what I'm looking for, right? If I'm doing a hydrocarbon extraction, I'm doing something that I want to see a nice terpene profile on. I want to see a nice color that's going to show me that it's not been bleached out or remediated or run through salts and clays and things like that I don't think that we should put good weed in ever. I don't care what form it's in. I'm looking for something that's embodying, at that point it's a fresh frozen product is what I'm expecting, right? So I'm looking for something that's going to embody that terpene profile more of a growing or a live flower. There's some work that's being done to do a test now to see on an analytical standpoint, on an actual, quantifiable breakdown, if some of these people who are putting out a raw product, a fresh frozen live resin product, are actually putting out a fresh frozen live resin product, or just a really nice doctored up distillate or CRC or something like that that's trim run. And that's possible, right? Because of the changing terpenes and changing cannabinoid and how things age and degrade or whatever. So if I'm looking for something that's giving me a nice full color. I'm looking for something that's giving me a nice full terpene profile. I want to be able to tell you what I'm smoking before I smoke it, much in the same way that I would checking out a flower. Because if we're concentrating those cannabinoids and those flavonoids and terpenes, you should be able to give me that. So I'm looking for something. I don't want something super cloudy. If I'm looking at shatter, which I hope I'm not anymore because it's 2021, but I'm looking for something that's going to be not super malleable, but it's also not going to snap and just drop and shatter into a million pieces, because at that point, I know you've backed all the terpenes out of it. And I'm looking at something that's just not going to be a tasty product.
So I guess let's revert back before we go too deep into extraction. I guess let's get back to the beginning. Got to get back to the beginning. We always start at the beginning. So when exactly did cannabis come into your life? When was your first time that you used the plant?
Way younger than I hope my son is when he tries it for the first time. But I was probably smoking every day by about the age of 12. I grew up in a really small town in South Georgia, and y'all, there's not a lot to do there. There's not. And I'm adopted, and I was afforded some amazing opportunities, but it also as a child growing up, especially biracial child in the South, being raised by a white upper middle class family, there's these feelings and things like that. And like, that's what I meant when I said, I realized even at that age, looking back as a conscious adult, that I was using cannabis in a more therapeutic way than I even realized at the time. Like, it truly was an escape from that reality and kind of a little neuroprotectant of sorts for my little emotional self. But I was young when I started smoking. It was definitely something that we would go to the bus stop, and then we'd all dip off in the woods, before the bus would get there, and burn down real quick and jump back at the bus stop and have a great day and go do before youth group at church. And there was always that occasional time where I would maybe smoke a little more than I should have and show up earlier and thought church was getting out and it was just getting ready to go. And I got to sit in the freaking front row, blazed out of my mind. So it's just something that's always been there. God bless it, right? They tried.
Right. Do you remember what was available for you at that time?
I mean, we went to the not great area town. I went to a school called Glen Academy, and it was surrounded by like government housing and stuff, right? So like we would bus all the kids into the island, and from all the other neighborhoods, we'd have like the government housing folks there. So our football team was good. But it was really easy to sneak out of school. And if you knew somebody and you were cool with them, like, I'll talk to that fucking plant behind you gladly for hours on end. So like, I just always been that person that's like, I'll meet you where you are. You want to talk about whatever, let's go. So I made friends with these guys, and I was like, fuck, I got to plug. I started plugging my friends. We started getting, just whatever. Like, and we were ordering at that point, we're like, let me get a dime bag. And it was like a dime bag of weed, right? Because there were no options. The first thing I really, really, truly recall, I mean, I remember Florida Crippy, obviously. That was an experience, but that wasn't until I'd advanced my friendships a little bit more. But something called Juicy Fruit. And we each got a dime bag of it. We all rolled a solo blunt. We got my friend Sigourney, who's now passed away, rest in peace, his boyfriend at the time's work truck, and rode around in the back and soloed our blunts. And I will never forget, like, I was so fucking sick. And to this day, like, I'm pretty sure it was the tobacco, because we were smoking like peach optimos or whatever the fuck we could get at that point in time, right? And like it's just gross. But I was so sick. My boyfriend, I'm like in his truck getting ready to go home and get dropped off. I can't open the door. I'm like, you gotta open the door. I'm gonna puke everywhere. You gotta open the door. I'm like, I was the sickest that I've ever been. That's the only time I ever got sick off of weed. That's the first time. And that's the first time that like stuck in my head. And I'm like, that's what we got. That was that was the bag. That was the one. Yeah. What did you start smoking? What's some of your first memorable?
Way too young. Way too young. I want to say is yeah, I'm right around 10. Right around 10, I want to say. Uh, yeah. I had actually grew up around it. So it was, in the home and around. So I actually kind of snagged some and kind of snuck outside and rolled whatever I could. To this day, I wouldn't say I rolled anything. I folded a paper around it and barely got it to smoke, but
You made it work, man.
I made it work. I made it work, and definitely got high the first time. I wasn't one of those folks that said, no, it wasn't me. It wasn't for me. I definitely liked it, but I wasn't able to keep smoking at that point. It was I lived out in the country, and he was pretty much my only access out at that point. So it was kind of tough to get, and when I could snag it, I most definitely did. So it kind of just picked up after that. It was like 2 years when I'm 12. We kind of moved into like more of a city atmosphere to where I could, hang out with other people and, you know, get it more freely, I would say. But definitely early, very early.
I'll never forget my first time. It was my friend Colette and her now child's father or whatever. And I was terrified. When my mom came back and picked me up in her minivan, I was like, shit, she's gonna know, she's gonna know, she's gonna know. I get in the car, I'm sitting there, quiet. I'm trying to act like she doesn't exist, like I don't exist. I'm like, back in my mom's minivan, headed home, high as shit. She goes, oh my God, Jenny. And I'm like, what? She goes, you've been smoking cigarettes. And I was like, yeah, shit. I'm so sorry. You're right. I should not have done that. Let me tell you how. Like, I should not have. I realized at that point how clueless she was. And it was so, like, didn't make sense for so long the way I grew up to, like, this is my life and this is what I do. And I found out it's nature versus nurture. I'm sure of this. I found out now that I have a great relationship with my biological family. My papa was a GI. And that's how he and my nana met, was through cannabis. But when my mom was 7.5 months pregnant with me, she was sitting on the couch. The police kicked in the door for my papa's house. My nana, being the rider that she was, kicked the weight under the couch that my mom was sitting on, who at that point is 17 and a half years old, pregnant as hell with me, about to give birth, freaking out, having a panic attack. So the police don't move her and look under the couch. So Papa got like simple possession, got out very quickly, was able to be there for my birth. But I was like, oh, this is where it came from. I see you. This is that nature versus nurture argument. So it's like, I grew up, my parents that raised me were very religious and very prudish until my parents got divorced. And I realized my dad definitely used to be a smoker. He said he had to quit. My mom wouldn't let him do it. But by the time I was in high school, I was definitely rolling joints for him. And he was saying the weed's too strong. So it was an interesting childhood.
So 12. So when was it how long was it before it was pretty steady? And, I mean,
I was smoking every day by 12. Like, I mean, I was just like, I was that kid. My friends have always been older. I was always just like, I'm ADD as hell, man. So I'm in everything. Like, if I can get into it, I'm going into it. Like, let's go. And I just really, really, really enjoyed the feeling that I got from cannabis. Like, it was just like, I didn't know why. I was just like, whatever. The first time, it was immediate. And I was like, I'm on it. This is me. I feel it. Thank God my mom also thinks it's cigarettes because she's down. Like, but it was, I think it was very quick that I decided that I wanted to smoke every day, especially when I realized I could get away with it. It was about that time. It was about whether you could find it every day. And like, as much as I'm finding it, I'm smoking it.
True that. True that. Very
Won't
true.
you give me scissors to cut it up so I can fluff this up enough to roll it up and smoke it? Devein. I'm deveining backwards now. I used to have to devein the weed. You smoke hash at all? How do you feel about traditional hash?
I love hash. I love hash. And yes, traditional hash I'm crazy about. I I actually it's almost time. It's almost time. I've done a few episodes of where I've made hash. It was like September. I did a 13-hour special where me, Boom Farms, D420K, and Smokey the Bear 2.0 made hash for 13 hours on the air. Well, they hung out for about 8, and I went to think the full distance. But I it's past time. Once I make it, it's like hash on everything. Even if it's like good weed or whatever, it's still it's I'm putting some in my joints. But yes, I absolutely love, love, love some hash. Um, yes, 100%.
Yeah, I got way more into the traditional side of hash when I went to Barcelona, and just being in Europe, obviously the flower sucks unless it's cauliflower, but allegedly, right? But the hash culture is amazing, and I actually got to had Mila on the show on Valentine's Day, and so I smoked some true spliffs, and I'm a big fan of chilling, but I felt like having a conversation with Mila, I have to smoke spliff, got to smoke what she's smoking, so it's a different high. It's more like it's that meditative, like it's a beautiful high. And I know that sounds cheesy, and I'm a girl, and everybody's like, oh, she's, but it really is. If you haven't smoked like chillum and smoked it in a way that is truly celebrating the plant, it really is true. It's amazing. It's a different high.
Oh, it is. I always call it the hash coma. I'm always in kind of a hash coma after I've made a batch there for a month or so, just because it's always in everything. And I love Mila. I've been on the show a couple of times, and by far some of my favorite episodes and sound bites. She's got my favorite sound bite. But what a sweet lady.
Well, she's my favorite memory, and like literally my whole when we as a team next level won Dabadoo in 2019, and I went up to get the award. She leaned over, she handed me the award, she gave me a big hug and like kind of a kiss on the cheek, and was just like, it's really nice to give it to a girl this time. And I swear to God, I still get chills thinking about that. That is the moment. That was like one of the most amazing moments. I'm so humble, and all I could just say, I just looked over at the whole crowd, and I was very sheepish, just like, thank you. I took off and went to go cry in the corner and call my partner. I'm like, we love you. It was, but she's one of the most gracious women, and I appreciate her so much. There's a lot of really cool women who are doing stuff in the space and have been busting their asses. Miss Jill, Mila, and that's kind of why I started the show, was to tell more of those stories, because when I got here 10 years ago, it's from a legal side, right? Even prior to that, obviously prior to that, I wasn't even brave enough to be like, who's out here? I saw who I saw, and it was Jill and it was Mila. But like, we need to set those strong female examples, because there are a lot of women that are doing a lot of work, and it's not just sales women. It's not just product demo girls. There's cultivators, there's extractors, there's women running operations, there's women CEOs, like, and so it's important to tell those stories, and she's one of my favorite stories to tell.
It's a great story too. She's got an amazing story. Story of hiking through the hills, her and her daughter. Just great history through Germany growing, and oh man, she does have an amazing story
Oh, that was the cool part of the episode. It was like, I love Milos, her daughter as well, who's now doing like a lot of her booking, a lot of her scheduling, the production stuff. I call her I gave her all kinds of titles the other day, but it was nice to have Milos and Mila on there because they really are just such great women. And like, I don't know if you could imagine living in India and living where she lived and as a child and just getting to go on these like treks for 3 months through the hills to see all this. Like, that's just, I couldn't imagine. That's so cool. I'm like, can we revert time and adopt me real quick? I'm coming. Hi. What do you got running back there?
This girl behind me is a barbecue gorilla version 2. And then back in the tent, we have some Orange Boss back there. Over my shoulder back here, we have a mess of things. There's the Fort Jefferson, some Tiger King. Um,
Tiger King.
The Tiger King. The Tiger King.
Bring my friend Joe.
It actually came from his hometown. White Feather Grow sent me them seeds, and it's already 4 out of 5 females on this one, and yeah, she's strong. She's really kind of tiny already, and I'm looking forward to the Tiger King. To be honest with you, I'm pretty excited on what I've got there.
That's awesome.
There's just a ton of stuff back there. I don't have the list in front of me, but I've got about 16, 17 strains flipping around right now. And that's kind of on the downside. I've usually been known to keep closer to 25, but it is what it is.
I get the impression you might be a genetic hoarder. There might be a cabinet full of beans sitting back there somewhere that are just like cataloged and not going anywhere ever, huh?
Man, you gotta have tons of seeds. You know, I've ran quite a few, and I've never found that one. And you know, this month alone, I've popped probably 12 new strains that are up and coming. So,
what are some of the old go-tos that you love forever?
What's that?
What are some of your go-tos that like you're gonna love forever, like your favorite stuff to work with of all time? That's not a fair question, huh?
Not really, because where I kind of fall in here is I've been a tester for a long time, so nothing here is ever really permanent. I've had 9 pound hammer stayed around for a while as as a special strain there. But that one was heavy indica.
9 pound hammer.
Pardon me.
9 pound hammer. Jinx definitely did a great job on that one. I don't blame you for keeping it around for a bit.
No, and I had the original. When I got them, they were still testers. So the one I got was the AFGU times the Hell's OG, and it was strong. It was really strong, heavy indica. It kind of smelled like a melon, kind of like a muskmelon, and had the taste of like a baby aspirin. You know what I'm talking about when I say a baby aspirin? It's like an orangey kind of almost. It's got a weird taste to it. That's kind of the flavor I got from it. And I kept that one for slight orange there. I kept that one for some time. I preferred like the gassier side of things. I'm kind of on the hunt right now for some pine. That's what I want to. That's what I'm really wanting. Is a nice library of some pine. So, what about yourself?
What are my favorite things to work with, or my favorite things to smoke? I mean, I'm an OG girl. I'm definitely a little high strung, so I need to be calmed the hell down a little bit. But I think some of my favorite things, like Jeff did a lot of really cool work with Gorilla Glue, so getting to work with that and cross it to Arise has got a lot of those characteristics and that kind of playing in that sativa because it's not something that I gravitate towards as a consumer, but getting to kind of experience a different plant expression. So that was really dope to work with.
So I guess when did have when did you start growing? When did you start growing yourself? Do you grow, or are you just an extract? I guess that's a
Um,
fair question.
so I am at this point, I'm a home grower. So I've got a few things running right now. I crossed connected Cutabascotti to the G6 and the Skittles, and a couple other the hype strains that I was able to. It's just some shit I'm playing with because I have no room, and I realize that mental health wise, it's good for me to come home to plants. It's like something that I need to do, even if there are 6 of them. And also, I can't tell other people to grow their 6 if I'm not growing mine. I haven't been running commercial cultivation since Colorado. So basically, what I do in a commercial cultivation sense is I come in and I do process optimization, I do pesticide training application, worker protection safety standard application, and do overhauls of procedures. So like changing your dry and cure process, helping you rebuild and revamp. Like Levity was one of the facilities that I worked with in Colorado after their second seizure for Eagle 20. They were really unfairly affected because they were Mickey dog, do not cry. My dog's over here being a diva. Sorry. Or there's gonna be an earthquake or something. He's warning me. Whatever happened. But yeah, so they were the only ones who were publicized, which is really shitty because after they were put in the news the first time, they were like, "This is fucked up. Why are you doing this? This is not. Hold on. This is not okay. We weren't told this wasn't okay to use, and we know now that Eagle's not cool to use, and we know all the reasons why it's not cool to use, but we didn't know until we knew, right?" So because they were the only one publicized and they were publicized twice, after the second time the news came back and they were like, you know what, you're right, that's really shitty, we're not going to do that anymore. And they were like, wait, now we're the only one publicized. So going in and overhauling them immediately was really important because their ass was on the line. And that facility is still in operation today, and I'm really stoked to say that. But it was a literal change in everything they'd done, all the IPM and things like that. And so I am a process girl. I'm trying to optimize. I'm trying to make you sustain. But I'm also been very fortunate to be taught by some of the best in the industry. But I'm also nice enough to say when I don't know and I'm not the best person, and I can go find somebody and get you the information that we need. So it's really, I'm a process girl. I don't want to say that I'm a master grower because I feel like that's also a masturbator, and neither of those things are fair. So I love what I do. I'm grateful to be here, but I'm not, like I told you, I was like, you're not going to get any grow guru knowledge here. I can tell you how to get your process optimized. I can tell you how to build and create I do a lot of building facilities. I'm doing a cultivation build out for the Cali connection right now in California on the regulated side for nursery and cultivation. But that's my thing. That's more of my avenue now.
That's quite an avenue right there, for sure.
But
Sounds. I
yeah,
bet
originally
it's
I was doing
keeping you
block
very
market.
busy.
Yeah. I mean, originally I was a 19, 22-year-old, 30, 20, not, I'm not 32, 22-year-old at the time, growing in Georgia black market. And thank God for things like green crack, and thank God for the yields of Blue Dream. And those two really, truly, because that's what financed our move. We sold the last crop there and moved out to Colorado, paid 3 months bills, and I miss it. That's awesome. It was a lot more fun. We made a lot, but I'm an adult. I'm trying to run and build something that's a little bigger than me in my pocketbook today. So
How was living in Colorado on what I'm sure was, the cowboy phase?
when the West was wild, it was dope. I bought my first bag in Colorado when I like the day I moved there, and I was not just obviously not supposed to be able to do it. And I was just like, hey, can I just like see your store? Like I moved here today. Like here's why I moved here. Like this is whatever. And like I'm just this little girl from Georgia. Like doe-eyed. Like yeah, I've never been to Colorado. It snowed on the way in here. I've never seen fucking snow. Like I'm on one. And as I'm rolling into the store, they're like, come on in, come on in, come on. They sold me like, I mean, whether sold me, I mean like $20. They pretty much gifted me like an ounce. They're like, oh, here, you need something smoking it. Like it was so fucking cool, and I was so fucking stoked, and it was just You know, there were a lot of gray areas. Colorado has always and does still have an amazing medical program. Colorado is one of the few states you can actually go purchase fresh frozen from a dispensary in some places and process it yourself at home if you are a medical patient with that amount of plant allowance. So they do foster kind of what you need to do. And I was a caregiver there from 2012 until I left in 2019. But I don't know, it's just it was an amazing place to be. I became a mother there. My life changed there. I just realized after I moved to California just a little over almost 2 years ago, actually, um, how much of a life I built and how grateful I am for the time I spent in Colorado and these connections I made and the lessons that I learned, both good and bad. You know, I had to learn, being doe-eyed and wanting to help, sometimes you have to dial that back and you have to be like, not everybody's your best fucking friend. Not everybody wants you to win. And so it was about finding a balance in my own personal career and learning my own boundaries. And I'm grateful for all those lessons that I had there. And it's a great place. And I get so fucking mad when people are like, oh, dry Colorado weed or Colorado weed sucks. You can kiss my ass. There are amazing cultivators, amazing breeders, amazing work coming out of Colorado. And I don't think y'all understand how much of the things that you enjoy started in fucking Colorado. But you should Google it because Google knows. I'm not going to drop anybody's names because I don't want to fight other people's battles. And I want to kind of bring the genetics community together. And that's kind of why I've always been in that side, because I can get along with all of them and they can't get along with any damn body. So that's always kind of been I'm like, let's play powwow. But I now know when the hell to step back. I don't speak other people's business like that. But there's some amazing cultivators. Dank by Pank is one if you're looking for a regulated one. They were one of the first cultivations that I actually certified for their work protection pesticide stuff. So they're amazing. The Shula OG, Shula GMO is some of the live resin I'm smoking on now, and it's amazing.
So, how do you feel about rosin? Is that something that you're bringing into your fold?
Well, I was looking for the rosin tray. Okay. So Groovy Gravy, Colorado. Yes. Liquid tea, essential extracts. I love rosin. I love washing hash. So personally now I wash hash because I was fortunate enough to have some of the greatest teach me. And that was, I got to learn on a mountain in Mendocino, which was just an experience. But just when you wash and press, right? Like it's more of an artistic thing. It's more of you get the trichome structure that you're getting from the plant. So it's when you're breeding for hash or when you're looking for trichome formation and a terpene profile that's actually going to come across in the oils that are attached to the trichomes because water, we call it solventless, but it's a polar solvent, right? But there's just such a nice instant reward. It's that of pulling the bag up and you see all these heads. And, like just the whole process is incredible. And just watching it just melt down. And it's just, yeah, I fucking love rosin. Can I cuss on the fucking Talking Shit with Eagle show?
It's in the title. Please do. It's in the title. Yes. Absolutely. So yeah, I absolutely. Do you are you using a machine or are you using a big can and a paddle? I mean, what's your method like when you're washing?
All right, some level. And I also do commercial production. So what I was taught, I love all the guys who get in there and brew with the paddle. I feel that, but I feel like for commercial production, you really truly do need to do larger scale batches. And I learned on a Bubble Magic.
Yeah, I have actually used a Bubble Magic myself, and that's the one that I used in September. I usually use the 8 gallon, but I've recently stepped up to the 20
Nice.
and modified it. I always make the modifieds. And it's funny. I actually modified the machine on air like 2 nights before I did the episode. So I tore it down. I actually, pulled it apart, drilled holes in the machine, cut it, piped it, hard piped it. That's something that I do that's a little different than everybody else. Everybody else puts the hose on there, and I actually just got rid of the hose, hard piped it from the bottom, and put a shut off on there, and then actually kind of a T where it goes up and down because it's I don't use the bags either. I don't care for the bag. I kind of more Frenchy method. Let it float around in there. I don't mind the extra cleanup of the machine. I think that bag's just hindering my wash. So of
Right.
course I actually tore it out of the machine, the inside of it. It's terrible when you buy a bubble magic machine and you have to alter it like right out of the box. You know what I mean? You're pulling it and tearing it down right off the get.
I am going to show
So,
you how I'm smoking now that you say that. Hang on. Give me 2 seconds. It's right here.
okay.
I wouldn't have done it unless you dropped it, and I wouldn't have bought it unless it was the family. But I'm currently on the Frenchie. So Frenchie did a purple punch, and I rolled it up, and I was not upset about it. So I said, you're more on the Frenchie, so you should appreciate this. Hopefully you like it. So let's see if I can get, oh no, hold on. We're gonna adjust all my lights, all my everything. I'm not a production girl, y'all. Oh shit, I'm dumping
Oh,
it.
you spilling it? Don't spill it.
I'm gonna pick it up with my finger and roll it right now. But it's really nice.
Spill it. Don't spill it.
Don't
It looks
spill it.
very good.
Hash down. Y'all are gonna get all this hate now, I bet. I'm gonna get angry messages now. You dumped the hash. I'm gonna roll it right now, you guys. Don't worry. So what is that is bubble your favorite style of hash, or what's your favorite style of concentrate?
Oh, well, I enjoy the rosin and the flavor of the rosin, but I prefer, I guess I prefer because that's what's available to me, I guess. But I really enjoy some bubble hash. I don't mind dry sift. It's very flavorful, but I don't find that's as good of a buzz as water hash. I think water hash has a longer buzz to it, a more full body. Might be a little bit less terpier than a dry sift, but that's what I prefer. And but as far as that goes, I do enjoy the rosin. I don't have a press, so when I'm buying it, it's buying it. So it's painful. It's painful to go buy rosin, so I'm still at my hash phase. And that's another thing too is and I guess this is hard to talk to with the hash artist, but it breaks my heart to go through that phase of washing, and I've reduced it to something I've already loved, but then to see it go into the rosin machine and press one more time, it's like, really it was good before, but I mean, we've got to one more time.
Well, and see, and that's an opinion. All right. Here's the part where not everyone loves me, not everyone always agrees with me, okay? But rosin, you notice it's picked up definitely a lot in popularity over the last, latter years of solventless technology becoming a more commercially sought after thing. But do we not remember when people started pressing things that didn't melt? So full melt and something will actually melt properly in that situation, right? Like in a sift situation, without the press, is a different kind of caliber of hash. Rosin is incredible. People who make rosin are not all doing it because their shit doesn't melt, but some of them are. It's just it's a different, but that's not either a testament to, even a testament to the extractor, right? Different caliber of product and not quality caliber, different trichome structures, different heads, different cultivars are just the best for certain types of extraction, and not everything can be extracted the same way all the time, period. And
I
it's just
agree.
that's the nature of the plant. It's a plant, and there's still always a natural aspect of something that's not ever going to be 100% homogenous. And if it was, we wouldn't like it. We'd all be smoking the same thing, and it'd come in a black bag, and it wouldn't matter. We just buy however much we wanted because it's all the same.
Well, I definitely agree with you, and there's definite levels to attack on different strains. That's for sure. Even at a hydrocarbon level, there's different ways to go about, getting
Ah,
exactly what you need out of it. For me, if it's a new strain, new cultivar, for me, I actually do a test run in a small batch. I've got some 1 gallon bags, and if it don't pull well, then I don't waste my time. I'll take that over and I'll dry sift it and try to catch as much as I can out of it like that, or I'll send it to a hydrocarbon extract artist that I'm friends with and trust. Keyword being trust. uh,
no, man, it
that
didn't feel that great. The trust is important there, huh?
it is. It is. At least for me, I've had some not so great experience with some of them, but I've had some pleasant experience with some. Um, so yeah, even with the hash, putting it in the bubble, there's different ways to attack as well. But I just, as far as like extracting it further, you know, I would rather keep my hash. To be honest with you, I'd rather turn it into a temple ball or just work it in another way, but to keep it in its bubble form because I'm happy with it like that. You know what I mean? If I want rosin, I would think I would prefer a flower rosin. That's I would want.
Really?
Yeah, to be honest with you, more terpier, more of the oils, more everything in it. More, I think it would
But
be.
flower rosin tastes like popcorn, burnt popcorn smell. Am I?
Yeah,
Are you mad at me now? Don't get mad at me. We were doing so well. I was about to pull my temple ball out
no,
and show you. We were getting so close. Don't get mad at me. But yes, I've always felt like flower rosin smells like popcorn smells like old shitty hash rosin used to smell like what you know popcorn smells like when it burns when it tastes. I don't know. Don't get mad at me, everybody. What's up, Brandon?
no. To each your own.
But
No
that's
worries there.
amazing. Do you make a lot of flower rosin? I mean, also it's fire in, fire out, so I'm sure your stuff that you're growing presses out beautifully. I've also probably not tried the best flower rosin, so we'll get back to it too.
I don't press anything here yet. I'm actually still. I would up until as of late. I've been on the. I haven't even been dabbing that much up until I started doing this, and then it became a little bit more frequent because I was doing this. Everybody was kind of dabbing, so I started dabbing once in a while. You know, then it became more and more frequent. Somebody sent me a rig, and then it was like on after that. I was like, oh no, here we go. So I've been dabbing quite a bit lately, but up until then, it was like I said, I'd prefer a nice worm, a nice full melt worm in the middle of my joint. That's just the way I like it. Even maybe a small bowl, a little bit on top of a bowl, but moreover, a nice worm in the middle of my joint. Even in a roller, I put a little bit in there. I drop that worm right in the center, put a little bit more in there, and it's just right down. It even burn all the way through.
You have no clue how excited I am that you just said that. So like, I know everybody's on like this donut tech and blah 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 blah. And I'm like, but this has been going on, and it was called a worm, and everybody's like a worm. So for you to say that makes me so happy. That's exactly what it is, and that's if you know, you know. What is this? What's the sacred geo here? I love it. What's the tattoo? That's dope.
Oh, that's flower of life there, and I
And then
have
what's the other?
Metatron's cubes over here, but
Very cool.
that's my favorite. Well, on my arms, I think Hamza is one of my favorites here, but I'm actually covered, covered.
Yeah, I guess if we're doing arms, my favorite on my arm would have to be, and it's supposed to look, kind of hand done because it is. But it's A Parker D. So Augustus Parker is my grandfather. Parker Dennis is my son. So that's like important. But I've got like my moon phases and try to. I guess Callie's going on my wrist next. I've got a. I hid everything because I grew up, you know, like in the South, and it was all like I was taught that like I should have my tattoos in places so they could be hidden so nobody knows that I have tattoos. So I've got like my ribs, and then in you know response to that, I now have a bunch of painful fucking tattoos that are well hidden.
It's funny. You know, I went with that same thing too. The first ones were all, you know, under the sleeve, you know, barely poking out. And then once I broke that barrier, once I got this one here, it was all on after that. You know what I mean? It was just, I don't know what actually triggered, but I, I'm covered now. I'm not covered, but I'm pretty covered from like to my toes to my hips.
What
Both
was the most
legs are.
painful spot for you? Like honestly, which one got you?
There's probably one spot on the inner thigh. I mean, like right up in the thigh there. That was like
And that's
it
soft.
was. Woof.
Yeah.
That was bad, and then the ribs the second time because he had to go back over it. And it's for like from my arm under my armpit almost down to my hip, and I had it done it all in one sitting. It was like almost 10 hours, and
Yeah.
it was like being dragged down the road, a gravel road.
No, I did 2.5 hours on my ribs, like right before I jumped on a plane back from Hawaii from the Hawaiian Cannabis Expo a few years ago. Like, I couldn't do 10 hours for ribs. I think I'd pass out that. I was like, maybe or maybe not my Thai drunk because it was Hawaii. My last day there, and like I had to do the Hawaii thing. So I jumped on the cliff into the ocean and went and got a tattoo. But that hurt like a bitch. The white, so white is spicy. I've realized that I don't care where it goes, white shading is spicy. I got it done on my sternum though. That was not my favorite time. That really wasn't probably my favorite tattoo time ever.
That was a tender spot as well. And it's funny you bring up color type there. I actually have an eagle that goes from shoulder to shoulder and then down past my sternum there. And it was all done. It's full color, full color. I mean, full color. And it was all done in 2 weeks. I had the outline done in one day. I went back in 3 days and had more color put in it. Basically, the blacks and the grays was put in, and then I went in under. I think it was day 12, and had the rest of it put in, and it was still healing, and it was just raw right there in the sternum area. And he says, "Well, I think that's all I'm gonna do for today." And I was like, "Yeah, thank you." Thank you. That was the first time I was like that close from tapping out. I was so close from tapping out.
That part where it goes numb and you're like, I don't know if this is a good thing or a bad thing, but thank fucking God I can't feel it right now. My foot was rough too. I did my foot in college. And then my little redneck ass got in a fight right after that too. So there's also a nice cut right above it that I had to deal with, and it kind of bleached some of the color out. It sucks. But it's a dead bear, ironically. And I just was, yeah, I was not dramatic about it, but that shit hurt. Like those little bones were terrible. Like I feel like that's the worst for me. It's little bones. Oh, and right here, that spot right next to my armpit, that really soft. That one was not my favorite either.
Yeah, I kind of forget about the armpit there. As far as I mean, I've got it barely goes right up in there, and that
That's the
little
only part that
molecule.
fucking sucks up there.
Yeah, I would. Who is it? Steve O's got a armpit tattoo, and I was like, there's no way I would go deep into the armpit like that. That is definitely from just that little bit of area right there, and it coming up from here. I think it's about to here in the armpit. So I think it would, yeah, I wouldn't go into the armpit for
Yeah,
that. Would
no,
probably be the last spot. If I,
it's
that'd be,
not
I would have
good.
to be. Oof, no way. No.
I actually got that early. That was like one of my first tattoos, and it's like a Taylor Jerry. I lost both my grandfathers a month apart my freshman year of college, so I got a tattoo that was symbolic for both of them. It was a rose and two swallows and like birds, whatever. Very symbolic, very fucking painful, very ill thought out spot. So when they got here, it was just literally, God, it just hurt. And she was so heavy handed and it hurt. So I got in a fight that night too. Young me was, listen, this is, nobody said this industry was always cute and nice and congenial, whatever. I've grown up and I'm a much nicer, kinder, gentler me now. So it's definitely like got scarred up, but it was the most tender spot. And because there was so much line work and then they had to shade right there along the line work, it was just, I won't touch that spot if I don't have to anytime soon at all.
How high was the cliff jump?
It wasn't that high. It wasn't a huge one. It was like the mermaid, whatever, off of Waikiki. Um, so it was dope. I did that, and I got it's a like a the Hawaiian flower, and then cannabis leaf, and it says Inyola, which is like in search of your best life or your highest self, or so it's just kind of a it was it was a nice end to the trip. I spent the last day by myself, rented like a convertible Mustang, and went to the north end of the island, went snorkeling with like turtles and stuff, and I did the Hawaii thing. It was cool. Cannabis has taken me a lot of really amazing places that I didn't think I would go, and I definitely didn't think like if you would have told me I was going to go here, and I was going to go here for a week, like 15 years ago, I would have laughed in your face and probably like made fun of you in class.
So would you say you're a collector then? I mean, do you get one for like travel purposes to kind of like remember vacations and stuff? Just a little, travel tattoo.
So I get tattoos for like meaningful things or times or lessons or like, like evolutions of myself. So if I like go through like a time that's like a growth lesson, I'll probably get a tattoo. If like Hawaii happened to be something that was kind of a personal growth experience as well. So I felt like I wanted to kind of acknowledge that and get tattooed. It's also sometimes something like I try not to act out as an adult. And so sometimes if I need to act out, also I'm like, fuck, I'm going to get a tattoo. It's always something that like, so I've got like a gang of things that are like kind of in the arsenal of meaningful tattoos that I want to get at some point. And I don't really schedule them out. And I don't really plan them out. And I'm just like, nope, it's time to go get a tattoo. Like, it's just like, it's almost like an emotional release for me. It's like it's therapeutic sometimes. Is that weird?
Not at all. Not at all. It's funny you say that, to be really, really honest with you, because I get asked about my tattoos a lot, and I talk about them quite a bit. I actually had my live stream where I had my feet done. I actually sat there and talked to people, but it is an outlet. I'm quite on the record of saying that I should be paying my tattoo guy almost double time, because it is getting a tattoo, and it's almost therapy as well. So you should almost get paid double there for it. But yeah, it's very therapeutic. It is a very much a release for me as well. Not weird at all.
Yeah, it's chill, and I mean it's definitely important. And everything that I've gotten, like, I don't have really much of anything. There were a couple things that I got that I wasn't the proudest of, and one of them's been covered, and some of them will be covered. But like, at this point, like as an adult, not getting tattooed is like a rebellious teenager because I got my first tattoo when I was 16, and like it was just awful. Like the tattoo artist was pissed when he found I was 16 because he also like I met him at the mall or something. He was cute or whatever. And he got like my number, and we never discussed how old I was. And he was like, I do tattoos. I was like, dope. Let me get a tattoo. So there, got tattoos. And after I got tattooed, he was like, how old are you? I was like, he was not stoked. Not stoked at all. But yeah, no, it was dope. But yeah,
Was it?
at this point, most of them mean something and are of value to me, and I don't care.
What was the first one?
I got a heart on my hip bone, like a little lower than my hip bone. Just a lame ass, terrible tattoo. Wasn't even a good tattoo. I mean, it was a good tattoo for what it was. It was just stupid. It was a waste of time.
Mine is just as silly. And even I told the story the other night. It's even worse, dude, when you figure the story and everything. But it is the non gangsterous tattoo you'll ever see, and it was supposed to be kind of. Uh, I can't even get
So
into the
tough
story.
when you got it, huh?
Huh? Oh yeah, no. Here you go.
What is it?
Right, right there.
Is that Bugs Bunny?
Buster.
That's
It's
Buster Bunny.
Buster. That's Buster Bunny with the Tommy gun right there. And I have so many wild
I had an ex
tattoos.
one time that got a fucking. All right, so he was obviously he had it.
That's the one people like to call. That's the one that smart asses like to call out right there. Nice Buster.
That's fucking because it's hilarious, and you know it's hilarious, and that's why you called it out. No, this cheese dick got he thought he was a really cool guy, and he was a cool. I obviously thought he was a cool guy at one point too, so I should probably not throw so much shade. But that was a very long time ago. But he has this tattoo because like he had this nickname Shady, which is not a great nickname to have, and whatever, probably should. His name is Sean, so it's Shady, whatever. He was like that era, but he got this print on his arm, and it said Shady Matt, and it had the pimp had like this little like dad gut because he was a dad at that point, like had like the dad gut. It was just like you put that on your entire motherfucking by like entire outer arm, and you expect me to go in public with that shit and not defensively and rightfully talk shit about it. Like it was just hilarious. And I know like bad tattoos happen sometimes. They just do. I have a peace sign somewhere on my body that looks nothing like a peace sign. And that is the only other one that has to be covered up or removed or whatever the fuck God, you know, allows technology to do. Because I don't think they can remove them that well. They still just scar up, right? It doesn't look like anything happened, doesn't it? Just look kind of fucking like you just now have
Looks
a
like a race tattoo,
yeah.
basically, is what they look.
Yeah, so a cover up is still the best option, right? If you've made a tattoo, oops, which is what we'll call it, like that's the way it works, right?
Yep. Buster's gonna become Shiva. Be here real quick.
Are you sure you're not going
Buster.
to blockbuster out? I mean, at this point, you guys are. That's kind of like there should be some loyalty. He's been with you for quite a while, right?
Yeah, but he's so
Through Eagle.
so so like doesn't go with anything. Doesn't I mean it's so out of place.
There is a point
I
where
had a tat
and Eagle's going to get you off his arm, just like
I
Buster.
had I had a I had a tattoo artist suggest moving it. I looked at her like, what? Like it was like,
moving
what?
it.
How?
Moving.
That's what I said. I'm
You
like,
need to
what?
cover that
That's
one up and do it again some the fuck where else.
yeah, that's what they suggested. I'm like, that defeats
Sounds
the
like
purpose. I might as well leave it.
that sounds like an upset.
Yeah,
Like, why don't you get 2 tattoos today instead of 1, sir?
yeah. You know, I do like. You know, I know it's sad is I've had it redone so many times too, but I, I think it's seen its day. I think it's seen its day. Who knows? Who knows?
I mean, some people. I thought it was really cool to get like I drew this pirate that was like had a bow on its head. And it was like a skull and crossbones and had like long eyelashes and like smart ass look on his face. And like if I was a skull and crossbones, it looked like me in high school as a skull and crossbones, whatever. I thought it was great. I had to put it on my shoulder because I was also like 17 years old, and that was what seemed like a great thing to do at the time. And you guys, the early 2000s was a weird time for everyone's life. I think, so whatever. Um, oops. It's now covered with a much more appropriate, like lotus flower, steely, dead tattoo that's way more representative of me as a person and not this goofy shit that I thought I was being a smart ass with. I really truly did. I thought I was a smart ass with some of the tattoos I got, and I was a smart ass, and now I'm an adult, not a smart ass. I realized I was a dumbass for it.
I love my tattoos, so like they do represent the journey of your life. You know, at some point, I think they do put off people, but at this point, I think they filter out some of the folks that I probably wouldn't associate with anyway. So
I think
it's
the
that's the
older,
way.
yeah, I think the older I get, the less I just genuinely give a fuck. You know what I mean? Like, unless that opinion is presented to me on the memo section of a check, um, it doesn't. It's I hold a little less weight these days.
It's one of the beauties of kind of being in the cannabis field as well as like you know I think they're allowed in the cannabis industry. I think of tattoos aren't frowned on as a grower or into the industry as well. So, eh.
No, but you got to remember when I was exploring black market in Georgia, I was still working like a legal job. So like I had an on paper job. I was running medical practices at that point in time. So like I did have to hide. And so like, I've been able to like express myself a little bit more, but I also now like I'm also like not in my early 20s and like as expressive and free and like I have an 8-year-old son and so like I'm kind of in a different stage in my life at this point as well. So it's not as exciting. And I'm totally down to keep rocking with you. Let me refill my water though, and I gotta plug my MacBook in. So give me 2 seconds if you don't mind.
No worries, no worries. I'll just do some shout outs in chat real quick. What's up, Mole Vision? 808 Rooting Prospects. Mr. Twisted Brute. It's nice to see you. Rescue Roy, one third time. Rescue Ready Roadside LLC. Sorry about that. Man, it's not usually I mess that one up. Barbara Matthews, how you guys doing? Nice to see everybody in chat. Holy cow, 58 plugging along on a Tuesday night. It's pretty awesome. Notorious Nugs, Ned Denver, Johnny Kane C. How you guys doing?
I should have muted that. Sorry.
No worries. Mr. Red Pill, very knowledgeable gentleman right there. Last PPJ15, there's one I don't get to see that often. There's Madam T. Moran Family Farms. And a lot of people hanging out tonight. It's pretty awesome. Sir, how? See you, Mr. Prometheus Soil. Cheers to you all. Buster ran his course. Yeah, he did. That is so funny. I've taken so much shit over Buster over the years. And yeah, well, I guess I'll tell you, you opened up to me is all right. So basically, I'm 18 years old, and I've kind of I don't know if you can say fell into. I've met some people that we've decided to take on some business adventure. I met a gentleman that came in from Chicago, and he had some friends that could help us out. So we kind of started a bigger hustle. And to kind of seal the deal there, we all went in for those tats. And they all got cool tats. And I was still on that age where that was my first tat. And I wanted something kind of I could live with, something not, you know what I mean? I don't know, but I wanted it to have that gangster feel. That's why he's got the Tommy gun to make it even more laughable. And so yeah, that was the first tattoo. It was like to seal like a partnership between us guys there. And yeah. So yeah, Buster was the one that
You're selling me on the Buster tattoo though. You're doing yourself a service here, my friend. Because now, like, I don't know, welcome to be my friend. I'm a persistent person. And I think that I really love the Buster tattoo now. And the more that you tell me about the Buster tattoo and the reasoning behind it, like, that's a part of yours. That's an important part of your story.
was it was definitely a good period in my life though. God, that was
And when you said
things
move
were
it, I just pictured they were putting it like, you know, when they move historical buildings and they put it on the shit and it's rolling down the highway. I'm just picturing it rolling off of your arm and then like adjusting it like to your like back or somewhere where you're like more cut. Well, you know, you can't put it there. No, you can't move it. It's got to stay where it is, right?
I couldn't even think at this point where in the hell I would put it,
Right here.
you know.
Just right here. Front. Reminded you where you came from.
Just here's just going up the chin too.
You know what I mean? Let them know how you're coming right out the gate, okay?
Oh, that's too funny. Too funny. Yeah, I don't know.
Relocating a tattoo. That's the first time I've ever heard that.
You know what's funny is when they said it, I was like, high as shit. And the first thing I thought was like, because they do weird, you know, body modification these days is something crazy. You know, I've seen, you know, the cuts, artistic stuff done with like cuts, you know, that type of body modification. And I've had seen people that's actually taken off their nipples so they can have that tattoo cleanly through there. Yeah. So when initially when they said move it, I actually envisioned like almost like a skin
Like
graft,
they were
just
gonna
like
do a skin.
yeah.
Is that what they meant? That's not what they meant, huh? They meant doing another tattoo.
No, yeah, they were trying to just move it somewhere else. I was
You
like,
said
oof, there's
removing
no
your
way.
nipples and it got very uncomfortable for me, and I hope all of you guys too. And thank you to your people for sharing my sharing my Instagram. I appreciate that.
Some good folks in this community here, that's for
I
sure.
was gonna do it, but like my nails are long as fuck right now, and also it's hard to do it with like all this. I'm not the most technologically advanced person. And I just would fat finger the shit out of it. Like,
Well, I gotta tell you, you know, it's gotta be hell. You know, it was funny. This when you said extract artist, I looked at those nails and I thought it's gotta be hell
I'm running
making
facilities
bubble with.
right now. Yeah. That's what I'm saying. The process for right now. I'm running facilities. I'm in a good, cushy situation at this point, and kind of running and building facilities. So this is a luxury. So my nails are usually my natural nails, and they are never the fuck this long. Like, so these are my Valentine's nails, and I know you guys did not come here to see fucking my nails tonight on talking shit with Eagles, but here it is, and here we are, and there's weed on them. But this is so I had to do a cut down on my natural nails so that they grew back out healthy again. So this is my second month, and this is the last time I'm going to have like anything that's not my nail on them. So she's like, "You want to just do them long?" I'm like, "Yeah," because they're just going to be for Valentine's. So they're like way more and way extra than what I actually do. And they're not my natural nail. My natural nail, I have to like. I also do Muay Thai, so I need to be able to put my hand in a glove and into a fist and into a wrap. So I can't have like this shit is not me. And my friend's like, "Girl, what are you doing the most?" I'm like, "I am doing the most." So this is me doing the most. And if you don't like it, I guess. Get the
Nice. I would have never seen the Muay Thai coming. Hats off
Yeah,
to
no,
you.
I'm an
Much
aggro
respect.
girl. I'm an aggro
That's
girl.
that's pretty awesome. That's pretty
Yeah.
fucking awesome. All right. So when did you actually kind of rewind in a little bit, but when did you go from kind of wanting to go towards extracts? When did you focus on extract?
I mean, honestly, from an extraction standpoint, I kind of got thrown into those operations. It was something where um, I ended up getting into operations oversight for a facility that had an optional MIPS, and they decided to build that out. And so instead of just joining for that, I wanted to learn everything I could fucking learn about it before I advised them in it. Because even if I'm bringing outside people in, I need to be able to do that in a functional way. And so, like, kind of my standpoint behind whether I'm, overseeing everything as a director or, overseeing everything as a consultant or however I'm associated with the business, I need to be able to have a working knowledge and be able to understand the process enough to functionally guide the project, even if it's bringing in consultants, because we know there are people who come in and they're consultants every day and they don't know what the fuck they're doing. Like they had somebody was running 4 lights in their mom's basement and they're like, oh yeah, I'm going to come consult you on your facility. It's like, oh good, that sounds lovely. So it was something that I kind of dove into, and so then that turned into teaching and helping teach interpreting classes and doing hash classes and tours in the Denver area. And that also allowed me to kind of immerse more into the part of the knowledge that I already had, which is the terpenes and things like that, and how to meaningfully explain those to a consumer in some ways, but also allowed me to kind of oversee some processes that I didn't normally see and learn from some other people. And I've just been really blessed with the folks who've been willing to teach me and willing to show me the things. And it's been a great evolution, and it's been a trial by fire. I've kind of been thrown into some shit. It was like, oh, hold on, because we were growing and we didn't know how, and these people didn't know how to run businesses. So they were just like, today, here's what we're gonna do, and I'm like, okay, hey, this is who I know that's really fucking good at this. Let me call them. Let me ask them if they're willing to let me pay them to teach us how to do this, to teach my staff to kind of grow this. And I've kind of it's been a learning through doing for a long time. And now, almost a decade, a decade into this, um, it's become a pretty meaningful career, and it's become a pretty meaningful place. And I'm just, like I said, I'm happy to be here. We're standing on the shoulders of giants, and there are a lot of people whose knowledge and whose grace and whose willingness to teach, Tony Masuras of the industry and people like that, learning under them, and through his release of Flan and through the R&D process of Flan and getting to watch that and see it happen and throw in the release party for it. I've been very, very, very fortunate to learn from some of the greats in the industry. And I feel like my duty now is to kind of help and teach the people who deserve to have that knowledge and deserve to do well in the industry. And not that I'm the kingmaker and I decide who deserves to do well, but the people who truly are willing to learn and want to succeed and do things the right way. I'll help you kind of guide your processes and do things in the right way for a regulatory standpoint. So doing that in a replicable process is something different than doing it on necessarily a small scale in home craft or hobby scale, right? But it doesn't mean that you can't get that quality. There's a way to replicate that process and do it on a replicable small scale. And so that's kind of where my niche has fallen into with hash and with the industry. So uh I can't hear you. Hang on.
It's me. It's me. I might off because I
I
coughed.
was like,
And I
oh
coughed.
no, I was rambling. I'm sorry. I'm hard. I answered the question.
So it sounds like you've had a pretty amazing journey in cannabis. Hats off to you and putting in the work. Sounds like you put in a hell of a lot of work. Hats off to you.
I mean, I think that's the best thing I can encourage anyone to do when they come into the industry is like come in willing to work, right? Like I'm not. That's why I want to give, and I hate to like when I'm asked questions like that, I hate to defer and be like, I've learned from some of the, but I don't feel like I should take the credit from the knowledge that was freely given to me. And that knowledge is freely available to people who are willing to put the fucking work in. Like, if you start working, if you start hustling, I came in and I was just willing to take whatever's available. You know what I mean? Like, from coming in from other industries, a lot of people come in and like, well, I was a such and such in the alcohol industry. And I'm like, that's beautiful if I was trying to sell a nice rosé, but I'm not. So, I was running very high level fucking surgical, like we were saving your fucking vision and doing surgery on your eyes. And I came in and was willing to take a fucking trim shift, like, because I really wanted to experience it. And so, like, I worked my way up through the industry. And so it's a different knowledge set when you're coming from, well, I've observed and I've seen and I've studied and I say, and I've really worked my way through it. I've seen it from an operational standpoint from each standing of the industry, and now hemp and fucking internationally. And it's just been, I'm really grateful to be here. It's not, I'm not dope. I just was kind of willing to work, and that's really what it takes is a passion and being willing to work. And it takes a passion, because if you don't love it, like, there are a lot of days I cry. It's a tough industry and it's a tough whatever, but like, if you don't love it, you will quit. But if you do love it and you're willing to work, you can really have a pretty fucking great life and a pretty meaningful one.
So if you could take the money out of it, money spoils a lot of things, in my opinion. Don't get me wrong, money's necessary, money's all right. You know, unfortunately, it's a necessary evil. You know, so if you could take the money aspect out of it and just do it for the love of it, where would you put yourself at in the grand scheme of cannabis?
Right now, let's just be very fucking clear. I'm pretty much doing it for the love of the sport. You know what I mean? I'm not by any means fucking rich. Yeah, I'm trying to build a brand with Kind. I'm trying to not a brand. I'm trying to build up our, my consulting company. And so that's right now using a lot of my salary employment to build my personal business as well, because that's what we do. We're also building things. So that's kind of where I am right now. I do miss being plant touching. I feel like I am much more hesitant than I would have been 5 years ago on jumping in headfirst into a more in depth cultivation conversation, just because I haven't been as hands on in a meaningful way um, as I'd like to be. So if everything was left to whatever, I would be somewhere probably on a hill with a nice set of uh, indoor outdoor setups, and everybody leave me alone, and some Australian shepherds, and I'd be up there just live my best life.
There's nothing wrong with that. It sounds right about perfect, to be honest with you. But so yeah, yeah, I've said a lot of times that things you can be you can have a love for cannabis, marijuana. That's one thing, but it all changes when you do cultivate that plant. It's a whole different realm there. You once you start growing the plant, you had a couple runs into it, you develop a whole new respect for the plant, honestly. And I think that's I think up until that point, it's recreational. Even though, like, say, like I that you say you have a medical license and you're using it municipally, but in getting some value out of it, okay. But I don't think you really truly get the benefit out of it until you've grew out your own plants and cultivated. I think it's that can do that you're creating your own medicine. There's something about just that time you're in with your plants. I think that's when it clicks, at least in my head and a lot of people that I've spoke to. That's when it clicks from being recreational to medicinal. That's where you really find that it is a medicine. And I don't know. It's
No, I mean, I
yeah.
think the only people's flower, the only person's flowers who are fresh to smoke and look ready is mine because I'm so fucking tired of it. Just, I'm ready. I'm gonna not type ready. I'm just gonna try to sustain it. I'm just gonna try it. Okay, it's just like it's not all cured, it's not ready yet. So like, there's something to be said for even when like I learned to love growing things because my granny cooked all these vegetables every Sunday that my grandfather grew, and I was working in the garden and growing them with him. And it was so cool to be like, shucking peas sucks. Shucking peas that you grew because your granny's about to cook them, and everybody in the family is about to eat what you grew, and be like, oh shit, these are delicious. Sunday dinner is so good. I'm from the South, y'all. Food is love. So that really instilled a love for cultivation in me, and that's why I kind of, yeah, it all one thing leads to another, right? But it's so empowering, you're right, to be able to sustain yourself and to say if like if they take everything, right, you can still stuck on a hill with your whatever you have. You know how, and you have the knowledge to grow your food, to make your own shelter, to grow your own medicine. This is your medicine. To be able to do this is to be able to sustain your own life, and that's very fucking powerful, especially in these times. Like look at all the fucking stupidity taking place. This shit has sucked. Like last year sucked. Sorry, last year. This year's gonna be different. This year's gonna get the fuck together. I hope so. Probably not this year, but hopefully. But like look what all the freedoms. Like we thought that we were going to be able to do all this. We're allowed to, if you're in California, if you're in a state where you're allowed to cultivate, and you're not growing your fucking legal limit, and you're able to. Not like it's against your lease. Because it's against your lease, don't do it. If it's just against your HOA and they can take your house because you're in a condo, don't do it. I understand. But if you can, grow your six, grow your lemon. Not that they're bad. There's no such thing as bad. It's literally called weed. It grows that way. On a fucking hill in Afghanistan with a goat pissing on it, it will grow. You can't fuck it up that bad. You might as well try. And what's the worst that happens? You do a good job, you fall in love with it, like just do it. Everyone grow your limit if you can, because there is, you're right, there's a different feeling when you're smoking medicine that you've cultivated for yourself. Like even when I like take a bath, like I do like infused baths with like the leaves, I juice the leaves from my cultivation. Like I try to use a lot of parts of the plant, and I'm like, this is my goddess plant. I feel like a fucking, you know floating little goddess, whatever is going on right now, like. And it's just such a nice, it's a nice feeling. Like it's weird, and y'all can say I'm weird about that or whatever, but it's different when you create it and when you have that relationship with the plant, and you walk in and you see your girls in the arms are just like, the leaves are up like this, and you're like, oh my god, they're happy. That's just the best feeling. You're like, look at this happy girl. So I think I encourage everyone to grow. If you're in a place where you can, please try.
For sure. And it is too. It's just so many levels of healing there. We it's one of those things that it's actually known to clean, remediate soils, clean soils, and I think it does that out of us too. I think it pulls out that negative energy when you're in there with the girls, and you know, kind of just pulls it out, recycles it, turns it into a good medicine that you consume, much like it does, when it cleans up there. It just kind of, you know, pulls off the bad and produces something good. It's just best time of the day is right here. That's why I like to do this here in the garden. Is I feed off the energy, I think.
I think at my desk is also I've been writing, like I said, applications for cultivation right now, and doing blueprints and AutoCAD review and shit like that I didn't necessarily think that I would be running a company that did, or have professional engineers working under me that were doing this line work, and I'm reviewing. So there's an incredible amount of cannabis, but also, I think got my welcome to my shit show sign. So we're sitting at my home office right now, where the magic or the frustration or the where the legal dreams start. So your office looks more fun right now.
That's funny. You should have had that thing front and center
Welcome to the shit
tonight.
show. I should have.
Welcome to the shit show. That is too funny.
I'm terrible. It really is like this is where I spend a good portion of my life when I'm not doing it at my desk at my office at the facility in Commerce. So
I
uh,
just think it's kind of appropriate you're on fucking talking shit with Eagle tonight and you have your welcome to the shit show plaque. So
you know what? Really, really,
it's kind of funny.
you
It's
know,
kind of funny.
there you go. There you go. It's in the front now.
What are the odds? What are the odds?
Yeah. I have one on my desk at work that says I'll be nicer if you'll be smarter. I should probably put that up just because like honestly it's like doesn't set a great precedent, but it's also informative and helpful and I think a nice you know, nod into my life. It's amazing. I know I have a great team and I'm so stoked. Our license being finally signed off today in Commerce. Like it's one of the first, if not the first, extraction facility to be signed off of in the city of Commerce, and that's right outside downtown LA. So that is quite the feat. We have jumped through like literal hoops, and the fact that we
That's
literally had to move a fucking toilet paper holder 4 inches lower during the inspection to get the sign off today is insane. But the fact that that was what we had to fix is so amazing. And I'm so grateful. And I'm so grateful for the municipality and everybody who has worked with us. And it's been a tough process. And it's been a really tough process through COVID. So it's just to be here and finally be at that point. It's just, I'm so excited.
that's pretty awesome. Congratulations. I mean, a sincere congratulations. I say this a lot on the show. Is man, I absolutely love people that are chasing their dreams. I do, man. There's something out there. It's just contagious. I just love that people that would see something and want to, make it happen. There's something awesome. It's awesome. Congratulations. I can't believe they were going to pull you back on 4 inches on a toilet paper holder. I can believe it. It sounds like they were
You know what?
just.
So I took a picture of myself, and okay, here's the thing. I'll pull it off and I'll show you guys because I'm just gonna have to not see your comments on YouTube for a second, which is fine because I'm way too dating for this. So I was on Clubhouse, and Clubhouse is I'm addicted to Clubhouse, and I love Clubhouse a lot. I'm hosting a lot of shows on there to kind of correlate with my show on Hayes, but also a lot of church talks and like Hash Church and things like that are happening, and it's really it's a nice it's a nice platform, and I can keep getting sucked into it.
Clubhouse? Go ahead and plug the shit out of that, because I
It's
don't. Yeah,
almost
I've
like
heard you mention it a couple of times now, and I'm like, oh, okay.
I have cotton
Yeah.
mouth. Can you hear me stuttering over my hold on? Told you, OG is just a thing. Um, so Clubhouse is like this. It's almost like a live podcast kind of format. So there's like a platform, like you host a room, and there's a speaker platform. There's people up speaking. There's a moderator set, and then there's like an audience. So there's a lot of really cool cannabis content on there, and there's a lot of really cool. I got invited into that with the beta portion of the app before it was like readily available. I don't know how I got invited into that, but somebody thought I was cooler than I am, so they invited me. Um, and it's been a really great time. Like I've enjoyed it. I've had some really nice like weed and stuff. It's a great conversation with Brad and Guild um, and chemo and just like there's a lot of amazing people on there. Church Talks, Ash Church, you know, Marcus, whatever. So it's amazing. But yeah, Clubhouse has just been funny. But it's I was on there when we were going through our inspection, and they asked how it went. And so I told them, I was like, we had to have this one alteration. They're like, how are you gonna celebrate? I'm like, I'm gonna go sit on my toilet and I'm gonna gently roll my now appropriately spaced toilet paper roll. So here's my picture because, and you can see same outfit today. As promised, I had to show them this on Clubhouse. That's how I celebrated. That is, and they were right. I mean, it was much more acceptable. It's nice. It's a nice, convenient, stretch away from the toilet there. So, that is how I celebrated today. It has been such a long, hard, crazy process, you guys. Getting licensed is insane. Getting licensed during a pandemic that no one has ever fucking dealt with before and we don't have a motherfucking handbook for is insane. When the inspector works one day a week, that means you have to get your plan to them one week. You get your feedback the next week. Then you have to get your feedback in back to them before they come back in the next week somehow and hope they come check it before they come in, which is not going to happen. So it's literally like we're sending up smoke signals as far as response time. And it's not anyone's fault. It's just living in times that nobody's ever had to deal with before. And this is insane. We're licensing stuff that municipalities haven't dealt with before, and that's already crazy enough. And it's just so grateful
So
that
what I was just getting ready to ask is, has this mess, I can imagine being almost turnkey ready up until this happened. And now did this add, more, you know, restrictions? Did you have more codes that you have to put in because of this last month, that you have to put in extra barriers and stupid stuff because of this mess?
just in the time, right? Like, it's hard to push through these agencies when they're closed. It's hard when something that normally takes a desk permit from a GC standpoint. Um, that's a desk permit means if you go into the desk, they just sign your permit application and that issues it immediately there at the desk, right? You can't go in the fucking desk, you can't get a desk permit. So then that puts the desk permit into the review process. And those are the permits that they usually just issue on spot because they don't really need to review them. So it's bottlenecking all these processes, and it's just, it's a difference between being gracious and pushing, and that we all have to be understanding because we're all living in unprecedented times. But at the same time, we should do fucking business. Like we can't go. It was a very long, stressful process. And the team at Dr. Murphy's and the team at DRM, and it's a small team. There's, I think, 5 of us, like 6 of us at this point in time. It's a core team. They have really just been incredibly, they're troopers. And I'm so grateful for all of them. And that, we can't do any of this by ourselves. And so I think that's the most important thing is to have a good, strong team, have a cohesive team, and have a team of people that you trust and that, you love, because it's like a family where it's very frustrating. And it's hard when you're frustrated to not lash out at people, especially the people you're seeing every day, especially people who you're like, at the same time, or like when things are getting, drawn out, sometimes you're just frustrated, right? So I'm grateful for these guys, and I'm glad that we're here, and so let's do it. But it's been a long process. It's been a crazy year. It's been a crazy year for everyone. It's been a lot of trial by fire stuff. I've been traveling the whole year doing sourcing. Like I was walking from dim sum in Chinatown in San Francisco the day they shut down, getting ready to fly to Washington to rip 10,000 hemp clones for a facility in Half Moon Bay because nobody could find anything that was a sustainable genetic. And I finally got it. And they're like, oh, well, you actually have to go home because everything's shutting down and you definitely can't fly into Washington. Because remember, Washington was the epicenter at the beginning of this, right? Like it was like, don't go there. So they were like, we have to send you home. So I was like, okay, cool. So my flight is, and they're like, tonight. I'm like, great. on the way to the hotel, packing up, going home. But I continue to travel because they declared us essential. I mean, it's for some people, they tell that they don't know if we're doing anything that's medically necessary or actually helping anybody or, not shouldn't be a federal crime. They called us essential really fucking quick, right? And told us to go our asses back to work because they threatened to shut us down. And literal city blocks were shut down because there were lines and lines and lines around the corner. And they were like, no, we can't do that. Actually, oops, we kidding, just kidding. Go home. Go home. We're not going to close them. Don't freak out because it's counterintuitive at that point, right? We think this is a super spreader fucking virus. We don't know how to deal with it. People are like, no, I'm not about to be shut in my house with my annoying boyfriend, cousin, brother, husband, friend, whatever I have, like by myself, alone, with my anxiety, my thoughts, with no weed. Because of course we're not, because it's an essential fucking item. And they called that very quickly. So it'll be interesting to see where we go forward now that we have that in our tool belt too, because I think we all have our little essential hats on. And we're like, what now? What'd you say?
That that was a great feeling. That was a hugely great feeling. Uh, from like where we come from, where we're growing up. It's terrible. You're gonna go to prison. You'll never amount to anything. Cannabis is terrible. Marijuana is terrible. To now, now you're doing something right. I was like, yes,
Yeah, no, fuck that. I've
fine.
had people. It's hurtful. I've had people who I've really looked up to reach out to me after I consider myself at that point a somewhat successful professional and said to me, "Am I going to get a real job and be a real mother?" Like, are you fucking kidding me? That's hurtful. Are you serious? Like, you just said that to my face? Like, okay, cool. And it was somebody who I really at that point, not it was a different point in my life, but I looked up to them for a very long, like since kind of like my teenage years, and so that was not that long ago, you know. And it's like, am I going to get a real fucking job? Okay, okay, like I just, what do you say? And I found a lot of peace in the last year and a half or so, and my mom, my biological mom, who's amazing and is a very strong, incredible woman, and like has my temper, or I have her temper, or whatever happens. But she just is very strongly instilled in me in the last since year and a half, whatever, 2 years I've had her as an advisor. Um, that if I can't change it, I can't let it change me, right? So like I'm just trying to deal with these things in a loving way and going from, yeah, it's hurtful and it's fucking frustrating and it is what it is. But like if I lash out, it's not going to change their opinion on my professionalism level, right? So it's counterintuitive for me. So I'm like trying to almost have to hold my tongue more, which is tough and it fucking sucks. But it's like also what I have to do as a woman in cannabis, because if I get all frustrated and pissed off, they're like, oh, she's on a period. You know what I mean? Like, and I say that jokingly, but it's not, I can't be emotional in a professional setting because I am a woman. If I was a man in all actuality, I would be being assertive, taking fucking charge, and a leader. But I'm a woman, so I'm emotional, and I'm irrational, and I'm being dramatic. So I have to hold myself to a higher standard and bite my tongue even more so. So it's an exercise in control and an exercise in accountability, an exercise in the understanding that perception's reality. And I have to do that sometimes because if I don't do that, then other women and other women of color and other women like me and not like me aren't necessarily going to get these chances because they're going to see me as an emotional girl. Now I want to be seen as a leader. I don't want to be seen as an amazing woman leader. I want to be seen as an amazing leader. I want to be hired because you know I'm going to crush your fucking company and I'm going to increase your sales. I'm going to make you profitable and I'm going to get you in your niche and I'm going to find that way for you to go to market in a successful manner. And I don't want you to see what color I am, what gender I am. I don't want to be your token or anything. I want to be a crusher. And so I think that's kind of what I'm trying to push for here. But it's a weird place to have to operate. And I have this thing inside of me from my traditional background and also from for me, you know what I mean? Like that says when somebody is disrespectful to me, I want to be like, oh God, clap back. And I can't do that. I have to hold it back. Because otherwise, we are perpetuating it is. It's just it's a vicious cycle of misunderstandings at that point. So we have to at some point find constructive ways to disagree and respectful ways to disagree, but also um, realize that perception is reality. And when we're doing business and business at a high level, especially when we're representing an industry or whether we ask to do so or not, especially if we ask to do so, we have a responsibility to just represent it as behooving of the industry and not just your own personal emotion at the time. I don't know. It's fucking weird. I'm in a weird spot now. I.
It sounds like you're handling it appropriately. You're going about it the right way. And as far as that goes, I would expect a crusher to be feisty, Ma- male or female. I would expect that person to be, just willing to do what that has to be done to make a business or a goal happen. So that's just a trait I look for in a winner. So, I don't think that's a bad trait by any means.
And I mean,
It is what it is, I guess.
and I think that there's a difference between knowing how to handle yourself in a professional way and not being of the culture, not being from the culture, not understanding culture, not participating in the culture, right? Because then we're getting into a corporate more. You're saying Chad got that's money. I don't know, that kind of check, whatever happened. Those kind of people, like that's that kind of situation, and I try to not we all know, and we're all. It's a very powerful thing to say no. I'm not going to get involved with some shit that I know is bullshit. It's a very more powerful thing to say no. I'm not going to get involved with my business. And so I try to not shit on anyone. I try to kind of promote the things and the people that I know are doing good, and just not involve and tie myself to people who I don't believe in or don't believe are doing the right thing. So I never want to shit on anybody or come out from a negative point of view because I think infighting also makes us look shitty from the outside. At the end of the day, we're still fighting for this on the federal level, so we need to be cognizant of that and keep fighting and putting our best foot forward. But I think that there's a difference in handling yourself in a respectable way, and still, I will. Anybody who's been in business with me, anybody who's been in a boardroom with me, knows I will still stay very true to my reputation and my ethics of letting you know right where you stand, how you stand, and while we're standing here right now. So I am a very direct girl, and I don't hold that back. I could probably, sometimes hold it back a little more, but that passion's important, and it's important because I come from a place that's not corporate cannabis focused. I come from a place where I love this plant, and I feel like even before I was involved in a legal standpoint, what I was doing was incredibly, I was at a young age. What I was risking at that point was the next, 10 to 20 years of my life. That would be at best 10 years from now. Well, no, that'd be best now. At worst, 10 years from now. You know what I mean? So like it was something I felt like was worth doing. So I've kind of approached the industry and wanting to help the legacy market, wanting to help the people who did this before it was safe, before it was legal, and who like, you know, if the Girl Scouts knocked on the door to try to sell cookies and you weren't expecting your butts puckered because you're like, who the fuck? Today's the day. Everything's over. This sucks. And it's that fear. It's that you can't travel. It's that you can't be gone for more than like, you know, 12 to 14 hours at a time. It's a different lifestyle, and it wasn't nice, and it wasn't great, and not everyone loves you, and that's fucking okay. But I also was blessed to have a really great education. I was blessed to be able to um, have also an on paper income that gave me some corporate structure. So being able to offer that corporate structure and that understanding and that kind of culturally based understanding the process and being able to apply the corporate structure that's missing sometimes from the companies who are now switching over. I'm trying to bridge the gap. I'm trying to get in where I fit in and not get in where I fit in, but get in where I can be the most effective as far as helping. Because I've been doing the legal side of things for a bit of time at this point. But I want to be able to help as much as I can to bridge that gap for the legacy people, especially looking at the California market. That's why I moved here, right? Because 215 was great. And a lot of those amazing legacy operators, those brands, those people who created this movement are getting fucked right now. And so having that appreciation for the culture and that love for the culture and that understanding of why this was bigger than us and it was worth doing when it wasn't fucking cool, because this wasn't fucking cool, y'all. Like people are using it for attention now, and this was not something like we were hanging out in basements and shit. It wasn't cool. We weren't dope. Like we were doing some dope shit, but we weren't dope at all. You know what I mean? So like this whole clout chase thing is just weird for me, but whatever. But like it's about merging that knowledge with being able to explain business practices and QuickBooks and how do you structure your company. How do you make sure people are paying on time? How do you make sure you're paying your taxes and you're filing this application right? You're writing this the right way and they're not fucking you. It's important to have those knowledges because that's what gets you through that change. But it's important to have somebody who understands and gives a fuck at why you care so much about this farm that you and your family have been growing on for years and years and years and decades in Humboldt and things like that, and why this plant matters to you. Like, you know, it's different when you hear it from somebody who can break it down on your level and can say, like, I get it. I understand why you want to do this and why this is the best way. Here's how you can do it and fit it into the legal structure and do it the right way so that you can sustain. So, I mean, that's kind of why I moved here. That's my passion. That's kind of my heart here. So it's weird. I'm different. I'm different, I guess.
I don't think you're different. I think it's a pretty amazing story so far. So, on your in your hashtag,
Customers are getting screwed too. No, customers are absolutely getting screwed. Do you know why customers are getting screwed? Are you in the California market, Bill? Bill said, do you know who Bill is? Is Bill in Cali?
not for sure. Takes 20 seconds. Yeah, about 20 seconds
Oh, is
delay
it
between
20
you and
seconds?
YouTube.
Okay. Because I looked over the other earlier and I was like, I'm doing like YMCA over there as far as my hand movements. I was like, damn, what's going on? Pull up to the scene with my ceiling missing. Okay, that's dope. All right, maybe he
Orange
was just
County?
You're in Orange County? Okay, so here's why the customers are getting screwed in California. And by the way, I almost moved to Orange County because if LA didn't open up, I went to Orange County every fucking weekend because I needed to eat food and feel like a normal human being. And they kept some of the restaurants open, and I could go like have a normal meal. So like I was like, I'm just gonna move down here if they don't open up. It's not that far from my city, from my Commerce City location. But okay. So in California, the regulatory structure is fucked up with the taxes. There is a cultivation tax that is a certain amount per pound, or per ounce is actually kind of how it's levied. At that point, it goes on to the processor, unless it is packaged and sold at retail, in which it goes on to the distributor. The distributor is the person in California who is responsible for paying the taxes to the government, as far as what's passed through from the cultivator. So a lot of cultivators, and I love you guys. I love you, my Cali cultivators, so much. We need you to pay your taxes. So the way this should work is it's a pass through. So we collect the cultivator tax, which is the responsibility of the cultivator. Okay. So if my purchase is $100,000 and your cultivation tax is 45, I should be handing you what, $55,000, right? Because you're paying your taxes, which fucking sucks. But when I process it, I'm also getting charged an egregious amount of taxes that I then pass on that goes to the government, right? But there's a bottleneck when that's like, oh no, 100,000 plus 45,000 taxes. So now I give them $100,000 cash, and then I have $45,000 in taxes for their pass through. So I'm going on and processing, right? And I'm like, what the fuck do? I have to roll this $45,000 in loss into my product cost, which is now going to be passed on, right? And tax on another level. And then tax on the distribution level before it goes into the store, where unfortunately those fuck you tax structures are passed on to the customer. And we really have to deal with, one, educating and dealing with a little better tax structure. Like, we all need to pay our own taxes. The farm needs to pay taxes separately. I understand the distribution needs to pay a different tax structure, and that's fine too. But some of these things need to be dealt with and can reasonably be dealt with on a case by case and a use by use basis, meaning a farmer, a distributor, an extractor, a retailer. And that gives a little more accountability, but it also allows a little more transparency, right? So we can see where these breakdowns are going. But also, farmers, I love you guys, and I know you're taxed to death, but if you're taxed to death and you're not paying the taxes, then what's going on? Because a lot of them are and some of them aren't. And so we have to kind of get a better standard and a little more transparency and a lower tax structure, a more fair tax structure. Because, by and large, all these municipalities want to maximize revenue and minimize black market activity. But they're very, very, very much cutting their nose to spite their face in all these instances, because they're taxing us to the point that they're forcing us to go to their activities to cover the taxes sometimes. And when I say us, I mean like us as an industry, because I don't separate myself from anybody. If we're all an industry. If you're operating in a completely compliant manner, you're in my industry. If you're not, you're in my industry. We're all this. Like, we've all come from not a compliant background, most of us, right? And those of us who've been here since it's compliant, that's cool, but it's still not legal. Let's be fair about that as well. So I think we need to acknowledge that we have to find something that's a better way of business so that we can all sustain in a way that is safe and operable and focuses on the patient and allows a medicinal structure to flourish, but also a healthy adult use market, because everybody should be allowed cannabis and good cannabis whenever the hell they want it. Sorry. That's my soapbox. How's that?
Pretty awesome. If you look at the chats, are like dropping knowledge, and people need to hear that. People need to hear that stuff. You know what I mean? So they'll fight for it. You know what I mean? The proper legislation. People get screwed in the markups. That's for sure. And it's sad that there has to be so many phases. It has to pass through so many hands before it meets the customer there. it's just a terrible markup. And a lot of, and then moreover, I think a lot of great gardeners get lost in the mix there. You know, we work so hard in our gardens, what little brand that we got, and then the processor just right over top of our sticker. There you go. It's no longer your flower; it's my flower, and
Right,
it's hard to
assholes. Like, give credit to your cultivators. Cultivators give credit to the breeders. Like, like everybody's like, how do we preserve the legacy? How do you preserve the legacy market? First of all, the legacy and the traditional market are very different. Traditional is still very active. Legacy is active, but it's not active as in you don't get in the legacy market now. Legacy market is something that the entrance time has passed, and the way you preserve that, you guys, is you give credit to the cultivators, to the breeders. You give credit where credit's due. You don't name slap shit. I'm so tired of seeing. Anyhow, let me shut up. But that's how you do it. We're second. It's not. Choose turn. Jennifer Governor. I'm so done. They wouldn't let me. Some of these comments are hilarious. I'm done. You have like a whole ass fan base. They hang with you how long? How long do these usually go? I mean, I'm chilling.
till 420. Till 420, they hang out like every night. Basically, a lot of them, and a lot of
4:20
great folks.
a.m.
Yeah, it goes every night from 11:30 to 4:20. I've been doing this. I started doing this in March. March 25th was the first day. I kind of was working on a different thing and then switched over to doing this. And I started doing it nightly, and they were like, "You gonna do this every day?" And I fucking thought about it. I'm like, "Yeah, I'm gonna do this fucking every day." And they're like, "Every day?" And I'm like, "Every day." And I've done it. I've only taken off 2 days in the last year, but I've done it every day, and I've tried to get a guest, great guest like yourself here every night. I've had some amazing people, but it's yeah, every night. And what's part of what helps build this community is I get people on from every phases of the community. So there's people in this chat that's been on the show that's been, they've got their 6 plants. That's all they have. Just home grower, got their 6 plants. And then the next night, I've had Danny Danko on. Then the next night, maybe somebody that's, it's back and forth. And then, I'm kind of jumping to the end here, but so basically what I do here is there's this aspect of the show, the spotlight, and then if this falls short, like say you've had enough and we check out, then I start out another what I call is it was the rabbit hole, but now it's the wormhole. And the wormhole is basically anybody that's a past guest. The Zoom number is always the same. So the wormhole is like anybody that wants any past guest. I start it up and then anybody can come in. We've had it's just a free for all. So basically, we're all invested in the community. You know what I mean? So it builds nightly. So we've had just we've had I've had pretty much uh, not everybody on. I think it's every building. You know what I mean? Everybody's important. So to say I've had everybody on would be stupid. But I've had some pretty amazing people on, uh, for sure. I've had, let's see here, Breeder Steve. I've had Amelia Jensen on. I've had all the YouTubers. A lot of the YouTubers are friends. I've had uh, a good portion of breeders. I've had Mr. Soul on here. Miss Jill's been on here. I've had Indra. I'm sure you know who Indra is. He was the founder of BHO, been on Hash Shoots. Amelia Jensen's been on here. I mean, the list is long. The list is pretty long. So it's been a pretty amazing thing, and it builds every night. Hopefully, you've got a taste of what happens here. You pop in occasionally as well, but yeah, it's it's an amazing community that's built since day one. Kind of picked up the weed nerd community since Sub passed, and that was another reason in doing this is Sub was a good friend of mine. When he passed, man, it was a huge void for a lot of us. A lot of us. That late night, hang out just like this. And when it was gone, man, it left a huge community with a void. I mean, a lot of us in chat here, a lot of us have been on the show, a lot of us growers are introverts. You know what I mean? We do this for one reason or another, but we hang to ourselves, and you know, the community, the weed nerd thing, kind of gave everybody that that chance to reach out. Be their gardener, but yet put down their guard, that everyday guard. You know what I mean? And kind of just hang out without no judgment. Behind that internet name, and it's when he passed, I think everybody just felt something missing, and it was since it's been going, I think a lot of people that went there has kind of hung out here since then. It's been a pretty amazing year.
No, that's super important. I think that Sub definitely had a charisma that drew people in and made people feel familial and made people feel like they were part of the family and part of the community. And I think that that was part of why when you reached out to me, I was like, yeah, for sure, because I had seen what you've done for that. And Jill has been incredibly supportive in my life, and she's been a really amazing friend and a really amazing mentor, and just a really amazing, just an amazing person for me. And I know that this has been so hard on her and so hard on the whole community. And so I think that to see you pay honor to that, and to give her that space and create that was why I was like, yeah, no, that's definitely, I'm down to get on board with this. I appreciate that, because we have to, at the end of the day, what was important, it is a community. And like I wasn't really a part of the whole weed nerd community. I looked up to Jill. I wasn't in that. I wasn't that girl. I just wasn't. From the genetic side, there was a lot of reciprocal trading, and then we found out back and forth. I guess it was me sending for my boyfriend at the time, and her sending for Sub. So Jill and I have been sending each other packages for quite a while, but um, she's just been an incredible person, and that she has a lot of love to give, and has done a lot for the industry, as has the whole TGA legacy. And I think that's what was so important about the TGA legacy. It was that it was built on with so many people, and there's so many great stories and so many great things that came out of it. And so I appreciate what you did to show her love and all that, and I love it. So definitely here's what.
Appreciate that. You mentioned the family thing. That's, I think we built a very much so kind of a family here. We've done some cool events, man. Uh, Very cool stuff this last year. We did a 24-hour 420 event. It started out to be it was Smiley Gardens' idea. We were gonna do it for charity initially, but with the COVID kind of thing, it was hard to set up. We did it in a week. From the time we did it, and the idea came up in a rabbit hole, and then we put it. It was in motion ever since then. But we put it together in a week. We wanted to do it for charity. Wanted to people, get people to give. But I couldn't line up with like you said, with COVID the way it is, offices being closed. It was almost impossible to get somebody on the phone within the week that wanted to work with me on a charity event. And then there was the other hand on it too. The ones I could get a hold of were like, I don't want no fucking cannabis money. Take your weed money. I don't want. We don't know. So it was hard to set up. So in the end, we just kind of went with the message of do something nice for somebody, and everybody that came on throughout the day, because we did it I did it in sets of three. So it was me, and then it would be say like me and you, and then halfway through our interview, somebody would come in and would kind of spice up the conversation again. And then like halfway through their time slot, you would check out, and then somebody else would check in, kind of revigorating conversation. And that's the way it worked, man. And whenever somebody came on, I kind of asked them, do you have a, a charity, or something that you would like to bring light to, you want to suggest they go donate to or whatever. And that's the way the day works. And we had pretty much all the YouTubers on. Well, we had Med Grower One, Lost Leaf, Tenacious Gardens, Pedro's Grow Room. Quite, it was quite the day. It was quite the day throughout, and it was a good day. And then we did Thanksgiving, 24-hour Thanksgiving episode, where past guests came on, and we did our thing, open panel type show, and just made a place for everybody to kind of spend the holiday. You know what I mean? And you wouldn't believe the people that hung out all day, almost 24 hours on Thanksgiving. And that was pretty cool. I opened the show up because usually it's just the past guests alone. So I opened it up for like 8 hours to, like, if you watch the show, the link was out there that you could come on and hang out with the show for a few hours. And then we did it again on Christmas, a 24-hour Christmas special. We did it again, and it was same thing. Good times, It was, we tried to make this show as community based as possible.
That's super dope. And yeah, I think that's the best thing about cannabis, right? Is it creates this community, and it creates community that a lot of us wouldn't have otherwise. And I really appreciate you having me on. It's 10:49 here in LA, and I do have to work tomorrow because it's a Tuesday. But yeah, no, I appreciate this. This has been awesome. Thank you so much for including me, and I appreciate your community. And thanks everybody for listening to me and listening to what I have to say. And my opinion's worth what you paid for it, but it is what I gotta say, so I said it. But this has been awesome. I appreciate the forum. I appreciate the experience. It was really cool to kind of get to know some more about you and hear more about kind of your cannabis life as well, and some similarities. And I appreciate you. This was dope. Thank you.
I appreciate you, and like I did hint to. There's usually two things I do before the guest checks out, and that is one, to give them the invitation for a wormhole. The Zoom link is always the same.
Okay.
So it's an open invitation as far as the wormholes go. You ever up late or whatever, and you want to pop on and drop some knowledge? We might be talking about extracts. We might be just, smoking some nights, but a lot of times it's very cannabis based. Sometimes it's kind of psychedelic. It gets out there a little bit some nights, but you're welcome. Always welcome anytime. Don't feel like don't be a stranger. Don't feel like you have to get an invite. So with that being said, the only other thing I'd like to get from you before you go is a sound bite. The old like radio school sound bite. My version would be something like, "Hey, this is Eagle Gardens, and I'm on fucking talking shit with Eagle, episode 325." You can tack on whatever you want, but basically that's what I'm looking for. I will be hitting record
What episode
right
is this?
325.
Okay, that's 325. Okay.
I'm ready anytime you are.
All right, what's up, you guys? It's Jennybwsp. I'm on fucking Talking Shit with Eagle, episode 325. Hope you guys checked it out and checked out me fucking talking shit with Eagle.
Thank you so much. It's been a pleasure. You're a very intelligent, incredible lady in
This might
cannabis. I got the cotton mouth now. And it's been a pleasure. I'm sure you just dropped a tiny bit of knowledge on us that you're so much capable of so much more. And hopefully we can get you back at some point for another at least spotlight, or you can just pop on one of the wormholes. Either way, thank you so much for your time. It has been a great evening.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me. Thank you guys. Good night.
All right, good night. Well, guys, that wraps it up for this episode of 325. I hope you enjoyed it. I know I did. If you're not following her on Instagram, please do so. That is, let me see here. It's Jenny Jennybwsp. Sorry, Jenny Beth. One great gal right there. But that does it for this episode. I'm all tongue tied now. Please join me in the wormhole. I'll be firing that up in about 10-15 minutes, right around 220. I'll be checking in just before 220. Hopefully, you guys will be checking in for that. But if not, I appreciate your time. Thank you for checking out this amazing episode. Hopefully, you'll join me tomorrow night where Max, Brew, and Ruby will be here. You know them from chat, amongst other places. But thank you so much for your time. You guys do know the deal. Please do something nice for somebody. Random acts of kindness do save lives. I am a living, breathing example of that. Thank you so much. I'll hopefully see you guys in the wormhole in just a few minutes. Get a drink, stretch those legs, fill that tray. I'll see you guys in a few. But for the meantime, I am out of here. Thank you very much.